Welcome, everybody. We're so happy to have you here today. This is Shumla's Lunch and Learn for November 2023. I'm Jessica Hamlin, Executive Director of Shumla, and today I'm going to be presenting on the good, the bad, and the stunning of Shumla's 25-year history. I don't need to harp on the fact that it's our 25th anniversary. We've been talking about it absolutely all year, but I think no one is truly as surprised as we are that we have lasted as long as we have. You know, most nonprofits fail or merge with other nonprofits within the first 5 years, and to have really made it with your support and truly with your bolstering and help over the course of 25 years is really an accomplishment, and it's just so amazing to us. I truly believe that the reason why we are still around is our passion. We are so passionate about what it is that we do, and we are so passionate about the rock art of the Lower Pecos. We love our jobs. We love that we get to learn and preserve this incredible resource. Um, and we're motivated by that passion to preserve it. And so the hard work is worth it and fun. You know, what do they say? You never work a day in your life if you love your job or something. We feel that way about this. But that's not to say, you know, that there haven't been rough roads. And so today, I am going to talk about a few of Shumla's greatest achievements toward our mission, some of our toughest moments along the way, and a few of those revelations and advances that really have changed everything for us and have made a difference globally, I hope. It was hard to cull to create a presentation. So I'm sure that there are those that I will miss, but these are the ones that stood out to me as really front and center in my heart. So I'll start with achievements. And this is one of my favorite photos of all time. These are three of our interns. I think these were from 2019 or 2018. But I just love this picture so much. So the first achievement I'd like to touch on is in 2017, when Dr. Carolyn Boyd and her contributor, Kim Cox, won the Society for American Archaeology Scholarly Book Award for the White Shaman Mural, An Enduring Creation Narrative. That the book in and of itself is truly a masterpiece, and many, many years of Carolyn's work went into it. But the point that is most important to me in this instance and this plaque, that she's holding, is that rock art was often throughout archaeology in our industry kind of that stepchild topic that felt maybe a little too subjective, a little impossible to study scientifically. And many have tried and many have done scientific research on rock art. But this book was for Shumla and for the rock art of the Lower Pecos, a moment of shift for us, where it was widely acknowledged that not only can the rock art of the Lower Pecos be studied scientifically, but that the knowledge and the beliefs that are held within it can be learned. And that made both the preservation of the cultural resource and the serious study of it something that absolutely should be undertaken, something that lends what we're doing at Shumla so much credibility and allows it to take its place alongside all these other incredible ancient art and material culture groups, like you see here, the Olmec and others. So this book and this moment when the Society for American Archaeology recognized the scholarly value of it really put the rock art of the Lower Pecos into the category that we like to hold it in, of books, that these are pre-Columbian codices, just like an Aztec codex or a Maya codex. They are compositions and they can be learned. Moving on to another plaque holding moment, also in 2017, this was the day that we established the Shumla Endowed Research Professorship within the Department of Anthropology at Texas State University. Before this time, there was no formal university position dedicated to the study of these hundreds of rock art panels in the Lower Pecos Canyonlands. And this position means that, and through the endowment of this position, which Shumla undertook, means that now and into perpetuity, a scholar will be focused on the study of the rock art of the Lower Pecos and have an office at Texas State and a student base. It's a really important part of the preservation that is our mission, is continuing this research, because the preservation and the research really go hand in hand. The research informs how we need to be preserving the art and ways that maybe we can. And it also continues to create really high-tech and very informed records of each of these individual sites in ways that, if we were just focused on picture taking, for example, we may not do. So it's a really huge step for us to have endowed that position. Moving on to a totally different achievement with a very different type of plaque. This is an image of our 146th site on the Alexandria project. So you'll remember, over the course of the years before we started the Alexandria project, which launched in 2017 too, we were experiencing a lot of flash flooding in the region. And we were recognizing that every time these canyons filled and then rushed down to the Amistad Reservoir where they stopped, they're filling these canyons with gravel and with silt. And every time that this happens, the canyon floors become shallower and shallower, the water levels rise and rise. And we were really struggling with how we were going to manage what needed to happen, the preservation of these sites. So creating for our library, our ancient library, which we wanted to save, unlike our namesake, the Alexandria Library that was lost to humanity, we created the Alexandria Project. And through that project, we accomplished the digital documentation of 235 rock art panels over the course of 4 years. So I would say that is a really significant accomplishment that sometimes I still can't believe we actually even dared to undertake, much less completed. And finally, to another plaque, this time on this list of achievements, the National Historic Landmark. Shumla spearheaded the effort to achieve the National Historic Landmark for the region, the Lower Pecos Canyonlands Archaeological District. It took 6 years. We did it in collaboration with our partners at Texas Parks and Wildlife, at the National Park Service. And enormous shout out to Dr. Nancy Kanmatsu, who wrote the nomination, many hundreds of pages worth. And it's a really important designation. It's also required if anyone wants to go forward with a World Heritage designation. So having this allows that if Seminole Canyon, for example, wanted to move forward with a World Heritage designation, they would now have the credentials that are necessary to be able to do that. And for my part and for Shumla's part, it absolutely should happen at some point. These sites should find their place among the monuments of world culture. They are that significant. So I would say that's a pretty good quick hit list of accomplishments and achievements that we have had over the last 25 years. Now let's talk about some of our toughest moments. This picture is another one of my favorites, and it's the very same interns. But if you look at the sign they're holding, they say these hills have wasps. This was one of those times when they went into the field with a day planned and had it undermined by wasps in this case. There are definitely tough times when you're working in rural backcountry desert landscapes. But these aren't the tough times that I'm going to talk about today. You might remember that when we started, one of Shumla's initial programs, our earliest programs really, were elementary school education programs. They were immersive programs that we held at our Shumla Harrington Research Campus, which was a huge accomplishment in and of itself, building that campus and starting these programs. They started in 2003, and the program served 4th and 5th graders in Comstock and Del Rio, Eagle Pass, all the way to Houston. I think we served over 27,000 children over the course of these programs, teaching them about the rock art and the archaeology of the Lower Pecos, focusing on critical thinking skills and teamwork and the science and humanities, and experiential learning on the landscape itself. But in 2013, we realized after 10 years of programming that these programs were extremely costly to conduct and very difficult to continue to raise the money that we needed to conduct them. Besides that, the schools really couldn't pay, and our team, which was a small team as a small nonprofit, was very, very focused on these educational programs, which was amazing and incredible. But it kept them from going into the field. It kept them from doing the preservation work, the archaeology work that really was sitting on our hearts. And as we watched the rock art deteriorate, and at the time I was a member of the board, we knew that educational programs were valuable and incredible and necessary, but they were being conducted by other groups. What wasn't happening, what no one else was doing, was preserving the rock art of the Lower Pecos, was focusing on its protection and its study. And so the board made a really difficult decision to end our elementary school education programs and focus Shumla's efforts and Shumla's staff on the preservation and the research and the education that went along with those aspects. So the internships that would be part of those archaeological efforts, or the community events that would allow us to build relationships with the agencies and the land stewards and the landowners, that would allow us to have the access to the sites to talk about them with the landowners and protect them and preserve them. So it was a really, really tough time. And there was a lot of heartstrings and a lot of sadness when we made the decision. But at the same time, we started the Shumla Scholars Program. So rather than having wide-scale elementary programs busing students in, we decided to start a program that focused specifically on the elementary school in the town of Comstock. And so we developed the Shumla Scholars Program, which has now been, speaking of achievements, honored by various different awards, spending a great deal of time with this specific group of kids and impacting them deeply in the ways that we had been impacting larger groups, but over a very short, each of those programs was one day before. Now offering these kids opportunities to do two things that no one else could ever have done. These scientific aspects, like here you see, they're building the 10-chamber plasma oxidation system. No other student in the entire world has ever done something quite like this. So offering that opportunity for education while including and being able to include that education in with our research and our preservation has really been fantastic. Connecting them to the landscape and the art that's literally in their backyard. And now we are finding new ways, another 10 years on, of incorporating the elementary school ages again. This coming year, the junior and senior class at Comstock's main project is to develop hands-on activities for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders by sharing what they learn about the Lower Pecos and the rock art, and using a program that's called Project Archaeology. It was developed by Montana State University and the Bureau of Land Management. And they have modules that are about rock art. And our students are going to use those to implement hands-on activities with their own grade 3, 4, and 5 there at Comstock ISD. And based on those experiences, they'll modify and improve those modules with an intent to distribute them through our website to other schools across Texas, across the United States, and who knows how far. Here you can see they just did a paint making exercise, and then they used some canvases to use the paint that they created using the ancient methods. So it's kind of a full circle story, but it was a tough time when we decided to close those elementary school programs. Another thorny issue that we and everyone else had to navigate was, of course, COVID. I thought that this horse crippler cactus looked a lot like a COVID virus cell. So, but COVID didn't affect Shumla in the way that you might expect, and it didn't affect Shumla like it did other organizations. For us, social distancing isn't too hard. So we were able still to do what we needed to do in the field. And if we needed to be close together, we could look like banditos, and we could keep ourselves safe. We even learned for when we were at our desks to master the art of staying connected over Zoom. And this was when Rich had a birthday, and so we had a birthday party for him. What we did experience, and what was the biggest, toughest part of COVID, was that our anticipated income from fundraising through foundation grants and individual gifts fell really dramatically. Of course it did. Our nation was dealing with a huge crisis, and it has to be said that cultural resources, and I mean particularly rock art, when there's a crisis, that's not where the money goes. So it wasn't a shock as it was happening, but it was very, very scary for us. We had to sell some assets, we tightened our belts, we got the paycheck protection forgivable loan. We, rather than reduce staff, we reduced some hours, and we just really plodded through. We pulled back on some programs that we had hoped to conduct, postponed them to other times, and we were able to keep our wits about us and stay together. And this is us in 2021, back together again, the first hugs after our COVID year. And so we're still coming back from what was an upward trajectory with a pretty big dip in it. But we are as passionate as ever. And so anticipate, especially with our current fundraising campaign, that we will be able to get back to where we need to be. And the last and probably funniest to us, hard time, maybe surprise, is what I'm calling Shumla's terabyte explosion. We take and have always taken a lot of pictures, and we've done a lot of work over the years on paper, filling out forms and things. But as technology increases, as these pictures get more and more high resolution, these images where you can see every minute brushstroke and zoom into the sand grain are enormous in terms of data size. And when we started the Alexandria project, where we were in sites every single day, taking these images, doing the work, we did not anticipate how quickly our data was going to explode in size. So to boil it down, this is not an actual math equation that we used, but this is to help you get a sense of kind of what I'm talking about. If Deanna takes a picture here and the raw image itself is 40 megabytes, and then we compress it from the raw image to make it a JPEG, that JPEG is 15. So that together is 65 megabytes. But if you take 2,000 images at a site, and then you go to 235 sites, that you've already got over 30 terabytes of data that is not even counting when we process to make gigapans, to make 3D models, to use filters, to do research. It doesn't count any mapping information or any forms collected. Shumla currently has 65 terabytes of data. And this happened seemingly overnight for us, moving from a space of 2 terabytes to 65 over the course of 6 years is a huge jump. And we had to get savvy real quick and dive deep into how data is managed, how it is maintained, how it is kept secure. We had to buy the right equipment and learn how to use it, create policies and procedures. And this coming from, we're archaeologists. We did not get degrees in IT. So we had to get the right help, and we had to make sure that we were achieving our mission, because our mission states we want to preserve the art. If we decide our method is digital imaging, then what has to follow is that after we capture that image, we manage it and we save it forever. Or otherwise, we have not preserved the art. So I would like to say that when we walked into Alexandria Project, we were like, I have every understanding of how this IT structure is going to work, but we did not. It was a heavy learning curve. It was definitely a tough time, but now I can say that we are very secure, extremely backed up, have great management of our data and accessibility. And even more, we're working toward putting our data online so that it can be accessible by even more people. I have to say it took a lot of time. Our archaeologist days looked a lot more like this than like this for many, many, many weeks. And a huge shout out to Audrey Lindsay, who made it her mission to get the Alexandria Project archive organized, safe, and secure. So that was the tough times. And now I'm going to jump into some discoveries and revelations. The first one I'm going to start with is in the early 1990s, Dr. Marvin Rowe, in his laboratory at Texas A&M University, pioneered rock art radiocarbon dating by using plasma oxidation to extract organic constituents that are inside the rock paintings. So things like binders or additives, like deer bone marrow for fat, or the sotol that might be included. He had two students that really worked hard with him on this kind of breakthrough, and one of them is our very own, as you can see here, Dr. Karen Steelman, here in Marvin's lab in the 90s. Since that time, over the course of the past 20 plus years, Karen has continued to work and experiment with plasma oxidation and that method. She has implemented new protocols for preparing these samples for the accelerator mass spectrometry readings, like documenting the sampling locations so provenience of the sample is known perfectly, analyzing an unpainted control, a background sample, to identify whether there are any contaminants in the rock substrate before creating the sample that will go for radiocarbon dating. Pre-treating the base to remove any potential acids or other contaminations before preparing them for the radiocarbon dating, and improving her laboratory procedures to make sure that any laboratory contamination cannot be included. She has also pioneered the ability to radiocarbon date not only the paint itself, but the outside and underneath oxalate layers. So oxalates that grew on the rock before the paint was laid down, then the paint, then oxalate that grew on the paint surface, allowing her to bracket the dates of the paint to confirm that those dates are correct. And her work has resulted in beautiful graphs like this one, where you can see the paint date that is here in gray in the center is perfectly aligned. And this is exactly what you want to see. Across the entire mural, these dates are well aligned. Then all oxalates that were dated that were under the paint, so older, fall on the correct side of the line, and all oxalate dates that were dated that were grown on top of the paint fall on the correct side of the paint layer. So this really gives us that confidence that these radiocarbon dates are secure, that they are true as we can get them at this time. And that is a really, really incredible breakthrough that is resulting in a refined chronology for age comparisons between different rock art sites, painting styles, even substyles, all across the landscape. And this is part of the Hearthstone project that you are going to be learning about very soon. Another revolution actually, but revelation that Dr. Carolyn Boyd made was that the paintings in the Lower Pecos Canyonlands are rule governed. Carolyn applied a technique called digital microscopy first at the White Shaman mural, as you can see here. And this is one of those techniques where you take images at a microscopic level to see how the paint is overlaid. She discovered through this study that at the White Shaman mural, all the black paint had been laid down first. then all the red, then all the yellow, and finally all the white. This was a remarkable discovery, primarily because when she started her research, people did not agree with her that these were compositional murals. But this discovery proved that in order for the black paint to have been laid down first, followed by red, followed by yellow, followed by white, they had to have been compositionally painted on purpose with meaning. So I know a lot of you have already seen this, but it is one of my favorite things. And so I'm going to show it once more. I'm going to erase the White Shaman mural from the Whitty White Shaman Preserve and paint it again for you as it was painted from black to white. As it's coming, you can see the incredible knowledge they must have had to put all those black dots in just the right places for the next aspects of this painting. Everything in its place exactly as they planned it. And with this, we know that these are compositions, and we have conducted digital microscopy at many, many more sites now. And we are finding that this rule holds for all Pecos River style art. They are compositions, even giant murals like Panther Cave. They are books, they are codices that can be read. Which leads me to the next revelation and breakthrough, and that is that people who still to this day hold these belief systems, speak these languages that have evolved from the languages of those spoken by the painters, can still read these murals and still understand what it is that they're looking at. And this was really brought home for us this February when Carolyn and Phil went to visit the Huichol in Mexico, and they were able to look at these images of the rock art and identify figures. And truly, they themselves had a really strong reaction and a really moving sense of what it was they were looking at, knowing that these images are thousands of years old and very far away from where they live now in Mexico. This is one of my favorites. This is when the sun was born, and this is the path of the sun, for it is ancient. So the view to our next 25 years is very bright. There is so much left to document and preserve. There is so much more to learn. There is so much more to share with you, especially in terms of the Hearthstone project. Next year's Lunch and Learns are going to focus on Hearthstone's results. And I just want to thank you so much for celebrating our 25 years with us, and ask that you consider a gift in support of our mission as we continue to raise the funds to continue our work. And now I will stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions. I'll start with what's in the chat. Oh, thank you. Wendy said she loves the talk about instrumentation in the lab. We love the lab. It is really so cool. Marglyph, another accomplishment is to create a best practice for rock art documentation. Yes, that has been, it's so funny. Marglyph, you're right on the money, because we have been working on a rock art recording manual for probably 13 years. And every time we think we've just got it perfect, then we figure out some new technology or new way to handle this, and then it needs to go in the book, and then we never think it's done. So what we've decided is that we're going to try to put something online that then we can update pretty simply. So that is a hope for next year. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. All right. Oh, thank you, Marie. So glad you enjoyed the presentation. It sure was hard to pick out specific things to talk about. There's so many things that I could, but I really, those were the ones that sat on my heart the most, that made me the proudest of the times that we've come through and the accomplishments that we've made. Do you have any questions for me? Lex has asked where the lab is located. Great question. We have two main offices. We have one office in Comstock, right in the center of where the rock art is located. And then we have an office in San Marcos, which is where our team largely lives and works. The lab itself is still currently in Comstock. So yes, we have a town of 200 and the most extraordinary plasma oxidation laboratory in the world. Thank you. Yes, continuing the hiking tours. Absolutely. We do offer Shumla treks. We are continuing those tours. Oh, good. Carolyn, you, yes, enjoyed the treks. They're so fun. And I want to tell you too, we're starting some virtual tours. And the idea of those is that there are sites that are just too hard to get to, no matter how strong you are, it would just take too long. You can't do it in a weekend. So places like Rattlesnake, places like Curly-tailed Panther that people really are excited to hear about, learn about. We are going to start some virtual tours where we basically take you on a tour through Shumla's data. What's 65 terabytes if you can't show people some beautiful pictures? So we are going to incorporate those into our treks program next year. We'll have we'll have some that are on site so that you can see them, sit in front of them on the big screen, and some that are virtual through Zoom. So yes. Awesome. Yes. Oh yes, about the elementary school education. We are really looking forward to getting those types of curriculums out there for teachers who really want to incorporate Texas history and Texas culture into their lesson plans. And there's so many amazing ways to incorporate this rock art for sure. Oh yes, thanks. We from James Everett thanking us for our Texas Archaeological Society meeting presentations. Actually, we're going to be sharing our Texas Archaeological Society meeting presentations on Lunch and Learns next year. So we'll be taking, because those presentations are only 15 minutes long, which is never, ever long enough, we'll be taking those, expanding them, adding new results as they come in, and incorporating them into our Lunch and Learn program for next year. Yeah. Any other thoughts, questions? Oh, yes, a World Heritage Site designation would be incredible for the Lower Pecos. It would be something that, the United States does World Heritage, as far as I know, and I haven't looked it up in a while. I think they do 10 sites every 10 years. So it's a lot less than most other countries. So it'll be a long process, but I mean, there's just no reason why Seminole Canyon could not be a World Heritage Site, or yeah, there's definite hope. Yeah. Thank you. I'm looking for any other questions. Does anybody have any questions they want to go off mute and ask me? Yes, we are planning treks for next year. Yes. And the Whitty offers us every Saturday, they offer a trip to White Shaman, and then we do other sites. And kind of, so we go around the same time. So we can offer, we might offer a Friday afternoon virtual tour, and then a Saturday tour and a Sunday tour, and then maybe you go to White Shaman on Saturday and come to Shumla's Sunday tour. There's all kinds of ways to mix and match. Yes, the schedule. Yes, and we're working on the schedule. I'm hoping it'll be out by middle of December. And Lex, yes, we have so many habitation sites in the Lower Pecos. Absolutely. Good question. He asked if we find habitation sites. Shumla, because we are so focused on the rock art, we don't actually do dirt archaeology ourselves, excavation archaeology. We 100%, we're so overwhelmed with the number of rock art sites that we are working to preserve and study that we don't do excavation, but we have partners that do excavation, and it has been done throughout the years. And there is amazing preservation in the Lower Pecos. And part of what we're doing now with the chronology of the rock art is also to align that to the chronology of the excavated materials, so that we can try to align, how people were living, how, where they were getting the bulk of their food stores, all of these different things with what we're seeing in the rock art. So it should be really fascinating as those things unfold. You may have mentioned this, but I know that Alexandria has a discrete timeline. Yes, and is that the case for Hearthstone as well? Great question, Drew. So Alexandria project technically was from 2017 to 2020. However, the baseline technique that we used to digitally document those sites continues. So last year, or 2021, I think we baseline documented another 4, and we generally do about 4 to 8 each year. So those are the sites that we weren't able to access during the Alexandria project proper, but there are so many sites that I don't think will ever fully be finished documenting the sites of the Lower Pecos and adding them to our Alexandria project archive. The Hearthstone project does also have a closing date. We are finishing that project at the end of 2024. And that's what we're fundraising most for right now, is to complete that project, get all that data analyzed and out for publication. Yes, great question. As a docent at the Whitty who is now handicapped, I would love your making ed videos on each area. Oh, yeah. And so we've been working on getting our YouTube channel and with videos and trying to be a little more savvy about remembering to take video when we go into the field or when we're doing different things. It's easy to forget when we're in the midst of it. But we have been adding a lot of different videos to our YouTube, and we are I lost my train of thought. And videos and tour. We are going to be working on another page for our website also called The Art. A lot of people come to Shumla's webpage looking for just basic data about the rock art of the Lower Pecos, which of course they are. So we want to take publications and things that have been written about the different styles of art and now align them with the ages that we've gained and such, and create a web page for that kind of information with more pictures and stuff. So that's also on the docket for hopefully next year. Is this recording available? Yes, this recording will be available, and it will be, usually we kind of, put a little intro and outro at the end, then the beginning and the end, and then we post it to our YouTube. But because you're here and because you registered, you'll receive a link to it in an email with a survey to ask you how you liked it after we're finished here today. Awesome. Are the Huichol shaman coming to Shumla? Well, that would be amazing. We would love that. We don't know yet, but that would be fantastic. And there's a big desire. They, when they saw these images, that there was a big desire to come and see them in person. So anything that we can do to help that happen, we certainly will. Yeah, awesome. Well, I am so glad that you guys were here for our last Lunch and Learn. It's so much fun to see you all. I just really appreciate you being involved with us. If you have any other questions for us, you know where to find us. And I'll go ahead and let you go this time. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and all the things. And we will be back with Lunch and Learns in January. Thank you. Bye.